Button.
Okay. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I wasn't sure I put the hyphen in. I think you got it, the hyphen, right?
I've seen it both ways.
Oh, goodness great. Oh, turn some lights on. There we go. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Let's see, bring this in here. Hi, Mrs. Ryan. How
Hi.
you doing?
Hello,
A little bit
hello.
later than usual today. Just getting situated here. Got all the stuff. Here we go. Hi, Mrs. Ryan.
Hi.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Today is Thursday, June 27th, 2019. My name is Jay Ryan. This is Nicole Ryan. We are the Ryans, and this is It's Tonight's Show. Our guest this evening is Miss Jamie LYNN Sigler. I guess probably best known for Meadow Sopranos on the old Sopranos show, but so many other things. And these days, I feel like I almost don't even remember that stuff because I look at her. With everything that you go through today, there are a few people that you check in with on the social media, just sort of following, and she happens to be one of them for reasons we'll get into in just a little bit. But
Yes.
it's good. I know it's a big day for you.
It's a big day. It's so nice to know other people that have what I deal with and that deal with what I deal with. It's just a weird life. So it's neat to have someone else that gets it.
Yeah, I love that. And it'll be nice to have the conversation with somebody else for a change. In the meantime, I only have a couple things to get through today. We've got an East Coast feed that we didn't do yesterday, and we've got a TBT because today is Thursday.
Okay.
So what would you like to do first, Mrs. Ryan?
East Coast feed.
East Coast feed. All right.
Hi, you guys.
Yes. Here we go. All right, let's see. Checking in with Steve Kaz, Danbury Chive, and the East Coast feed. Let's see what Brooke and the Kazman are today. Roll it, Hal.
Oh, there it goes. Mr. and Mrs. Ryan, Brooke and the Casman, East Coast Feed Stop. And why are we here today? We're in New Milford, Connecticut on a Monday night. Brooke, tell them why we're here.
It's my half birthday.
It's Brooke's half birthday. Now, normally, nobody gives a shit about half birthdays. However, when your birthday falls on Christmas Eve, you get screwed out of gifts and everything. And being a good guy that I am, we're going out for dinner. And look, bam, birthday gifts, drinks. And we're here on Bank Street, New Milford. We're going to turn it around, Mr. Ryan, because you know the Bank Street Theater and all the cool stuff. And look, we got food coming. Oh, it's fantastic. Look at that. There we got everything.
Here's the short ribs.
Thank you very much. See, look at that. We got food. Look how fantastic this food looks. Short ribs. We got plantains. Right, babe?
If you guys want a fiance, I have one if you need
Just in case you need. Oh, look at the second drink for me. Love you guys.
Oh, that man.
I know exactly what happened there. That was awesome. All right. Well, that was cute and everything. I will say Bank Street, they were in New Milford, I believe.
Oh.
I believe. And whatever. It's where they filmed Mr. Deeds. You remember Mr.
That
Deeds,
Adam
the Adam
Sandler
Sandler
movie?
movie? Yeah. It was where the pizza place
That's
was on
where?
the whole main street. It was supposed to be like New Hampshire or something, but
Right.
did it all in Connecticut.
Well, happy half birthday to that one.
He shot a few movies there. Yes, happy half birthday to Brooke. I thought that was silly, but a Christmas Eve birthday is, you totally get roped out there.
You get hosed a little bit.
Yeah, so I understand it fully. I mean, yours always just being the same month is kind of, and you're in the beginning of December. But
Yeah,
still.
it's a kickoff for the season.
It's the kickoff for the season. Okay, let us check in now. It's Thursday, and as we do every Thursday, we open up the old TBT. So let us do that now. I don't remember where we are tonight, but I'm sure it'll say. Roll it, Hal. Gotta make sure it works. you think, Mrs. Ryan?
That was such a fun time.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones, and it was. It wasn't like one weekend; it was like a week and a half or something. And we just did lately, I think we called it.
Yeah, just
But so
every
many great
memory
smiling
came back.
faces, yeah, and the music. Nicholas Hunziker doing donuts out there.
That was hilarious. And Heather, who's never on camera, we caught her.
It's the greatest.
It was, and that picture with Zwart, I just love.
Oh, I do too.
It's one of my favorites.
And about 1 million pictures of you out at stuff in public, smiling and having a good time. And that, to me, it makes my smile even bigger every time. You're very infectious. Your smile is very infectious.
Thanks, mister.
With that, Mrs. Ryan, it's time to ask the question that's on everyone's mind.
Dun 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 dun.
What's going on, Mrs. Ryan? Dun, 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 dun.
There's a castle in Central Park called Belvedere Castle.
Sure.
I've not been there, and it was closed last year, but they're reopening it officially.
It was closed for refurbishments, wasn't it?
Yes.
Weren't they fixing it up?
Yeah, and they're bringing it back. They're relaunching it this month, tomorrow probably. June 28th.
Oh,
but
yeah,
it'll
literally.
be around soon, this upcoming. And it's been around since 1836. I don't know why I didn't know about it, but it was like it's been a lookout and a weather place and a visitor center.
Yeah.
I
think
didn't
it might
know
be a
any
visitor
of it.
center now. I think that's what it is, right?
It's the last thing I knew it was, like from the 80s on.
Yeah, when I was a kid. I think there were field trips and stuff when I was a kid.
Yeah?
Yeah. Not to that place, but to Central Park. And it was like, oh, there's the Tavern on the Green over there. There's the baseball fields. There's this, that.
Yeah, I didn't have those field trips. We were up near Canada. I think we went
You
to
were a
Toronto.
little too far. Take ice skating trips to Canada.
Yeah, we liked that. Okay, there's a goldfish, speaking of where I'm from. Really, this is a love letter to Finding Nemo.
Oh, God. I love that movie.
Same. It was released in like 2003, and apparently there was a big surge of kids flushing their live goldfish down the toilet.
Oh, because all drains lead to the ocean.
Yeah.
Sure, it makes perfect sense.
And that is...
Freeing Nemo.
Right. And so a lot of people tried to do that. So I will just reiterate what they said then, which is don't really do that. So parents that have kids, don't let them flush live animals down the toilet. But the good thing to come out of it, if you want to see it that way, is there's tons of goldfish in the Great Lakes. There's so many. There's like literally millions, which I did not know. And they found a 14-inch goldfish near Niagara Falls.
Literally what I was going to say. What the little I know of goldfish, what I recall is that they grow to be as big as their container, whatever it is. So you get a little bowl, they get to be X amount, big, and so on and so forth. The Great Lakes are much larger.
They're huge, and it just read like Simpsons, like big fish that look all sorts of different ways. And this fish but they found like a 14-pound one time in Tahoe. Like, listen, goldfish are not just what you get at fairs anymore, apparently.
All right.
Look around, but don't flush them down the toilet.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Illinois became the latest state to legalize marijuana.
I read that yesterday.
Yeah. And what I like about this, because I'm not just a pot person, but like
You're not a pot person at all. I never knew you to smoke until you got sick with diagnosed with MS and everything. And even then, it was years afterwards.
It was a lot of like
even
convincing.
looking into medicinal stuff.
Yeah, I was not into it. But I love that they're legalizing it so broadly. And Illinois is one of the first states. They're 10th and plus D.C., which is the district, but whatever. They're actually including reparations in their bill, which is such a good buoy for people to latch onto. Like they're gonna wipe out 800,000 convictions of minor crimes for the state, which is a huge deal.
Sure.
So I hope that everyone takes notice. They seem to be, and follow suit, because that's the only name of the game. Legalizing marijuana, like, fine, but like actively using the money to like help fix infrastructures in places that aren't like low income housing and stuff.
It sounds amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah, if it actually happens that way, that'd be absolutely terrific.
Keep your fingers crossed.
Will do.
Lastly, though, Seinfeld's going to be 30 this year. It started airing 30 years ago.
Oh
yeah.
My gosh, 89. That's right. They did that little small season. Holy crap.
Yeah. I forgot. I didn't realize it had been that long. And in New York, in Gramercy, the Gramercy area, they're going to have a Seinfeld experience area, like an apartment that's interactive.
Oh, you get to go to the apartment? Oh, that's fun. They had that a couple years ago when Hulu bought Seinfeld. They recreated the apartment in New York, and people could go see it.
They did a bunch of different pop-up locations. Apparently, this one's going to be more formidable and not necessarily permanent, but it's going to be there for a while. And it's
real
an
exhibit.
Yeah.
They did something with Saturday Night Live a couple years ago for their 40th anniversary. It was sort of similar. Very interactive.
So it sounds neat. Like if you don't drink and want to go out in New York, like that's the way to do it. And super rad. You can like learn about the show and the characters and your favorite parts of the show.
We were somewhere the other day and somebody said, "Did you see all of the episodes of something or other?" And I was like, I literally used Seinfeld as the reference. I was like, I don't know, probably. I'm sure I probably have. I don't know for a fact, but just like Seinfeld, I've never watched all of them through, but I'm certain over the years I've seen them all probably a dozen times each, right?
Yeah, I would imagine. I feel that way about Friends too. There's just
part of our culture.
Part of the culture. So go take a look.
Yeah, totally. Oh, and that's been every time gets me. And that's been What's Going On. Good job, Mrs. Ryan. How do you feel?
Thank you.
How do you feel after that?
Great.
Yeah. You should. You should be proud of yourself. I'm glad you're smiling.
Thanks.
Sometimes Mrs. Ryan beats herself up after the news. Oh, stupid. Shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
This was great. You're awesome.
Thanks. You're awesome.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. In a few minutes, Jamie Lynn Siegler will be sitting in that chair right there. Maybe again, right? She was actually on Letterman at
I
one
asked.
point.
The cast did Letterman stuff, but I don't believe she's actually been in the chair.
Well, she's going to be here in a few minutes.
Yeah,
so
it's going to be
more
awesome.
to come right after this. See you in a few.
Great.
Take the pressure off a little bit.
Perfect. I love less pressure.
And now that you're taking a sip, we are back!
Hey.
Sitting here with Jamie Lynn Siegler. Welcome back, everybody. Hi, Jamie Lynn.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Do you prefer Jamie Lynn? Jamie?
I
What do you
actually prefer Jamie
Just
because,
Jamie.
I started acting when I was a kid, so my mom decided a lot of things for me, and so she decided Jamie Lynn Sigler was a beautiful name that she gave me, and that should be my professional name, which it is a lovely name, but it just feels so formal, and anyone that I meet...
Three names, it always kind of is, right?
Yeah. So I prefer Jamie. Thank you for asking.
Sure.
But I'll answer to both.
I don't imagine it'll come up again.
Great.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We very much appreciate having you for all the reasons I mentioned earlier. Forget the fact that you are a celebrity, somebody who should be on a talk show. You're kind of big in our world, in our little world, in our little bubble for a lot of reasons that I went over before. So it really means extra.
No.
That's kind of what I'm trying to say. Gosh, where do we start with you? Did you grow up in New York?
On Long Island.
You did?
Yes.
Right. Connecticut kid right across
Okay. Yeah, we're kind of like
Steps.
siblings,
Steps,
right?
yeah.
Like Jersey, Connecticut,
I think,
Long Island.
I can't speak for you guys. I would say the Connecticut kids for sure were open to the Long Island kids, and it seemed like the Long Island kids were kind of like, oh, the Connecticut kids, right.
Oh,
enjoy
really?
Sailing. Yeah, enjoy your tennis, right.
Well, they were just probably intimidated or felt like you were fancier. That's all. That's where it was. That was the root of the pain.
Where on Long Island are you from?
I'm from a town called Jericho.
I know
near
it.
Syosset.
No, it's Oyster Bay. I know it. I was just
it's
trying
like
to
North
think.
Shore, kind of in the middle. It's exit 42,
Off the LIE.
which usually helps people understand when you give
It's
them
an
an
East
exit
Coast.
on the LA. Yeah.
Totally. For Long Island and Jersey, it's both the same thing.
Yeah.
What exit are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you always know acting? I don't know where to jump in, so I'm
Sure,
just going to dive in
let's
when
do
you were a
it.
kid and
I mean,
figure it
I
out.
did like the...
Did you know that that's what you wanted to do? That was
Yes,
like
at a
thing?
young age. So I joined, like little ballet class that you put all the little girls in, and I did that with my friends. And then when I was around 8 years old, I joined like a musical theater class in the school.
Okay.
And they were having auditions for a mini production of Annie, and we had to say what we wanted to audition for. And I said the dog, Sandy, because I loved dogs, and it was like still this like really upsetting thing that my parents would not get me a dog. So I thought playing a dog would fill that hole for me. And they cast me as Annie, which was shocking. And they started telling my mom,
Did you
Jamie,
know the story already? Or
the
were you
movie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
obsessed.
me too.
So then, people were like, Jamie can sing a little bit. Maybe you should get her some singing lessons. And I thought that was cool to try. And then I auditioned for a production of, actually, no, before that, then out of nowhere, I got an audition through my singing teacher for Les Miserables on Broadway.
Whoa.
I was 8 years old.
What year?
I
is
had
that?
braces. I was
that the
8, so
biggest show on-
89. So it was like when it was like out.
Phantom and Les Mis were the biggest.
The
at that time.
biggest.
That was
The biggest.
everything.
Period.
So I remember my mom drove me to the city, which we never went to New York City that often. So this was like so cool. And I remember
Special
being in like the
occasion.
waiting room, and all these girls had their 8x10 black and white photos and their resumes. And I remember looking at my mom being like, I have to bring a picture. So like she went through her wallet and like gave me my school picture, and that's what I brought
Whoa.
in. Like this is like
That was
how
your headshot.
green. That was my headshot. And I ended up getting like 4 callbacks, and which became then the story of my life when it came to Broadway auditions was, they would make you stand against a wall and a piece of tape to see how tall you were,
Right, yeah.
because the shorter you were, the longer you could last in the show, because
As a kid.
because you obviously
Right.
grow when you're little. So I was too tall. But then that really caught the bug for me, and so I auditioned for a production of Sound of Music on Long Island, and that was it. Like I got it, and I worked on that theater even through Sopranos. Like I'd have hiatuses and go back and do musicals there
No
because
kidding.
I loved it so much, and still to this
Was
day.
it like a summer stock type of little?
No, it was
local-
all year round. It was a community theater.
I loved it.
So I mean, I did Annie, I did Fiddler, I did every show that had a kid. I was in
That's
it.
neat.
So fun, and it was great because I was in public school with my friends, but like getting to really feel this thing out. And then as things went on, I did a national tour when I was 13, and then I got Sopranos when I was 16. So
Wow.
at a very young age, yes, to answer your question with that long-winded answer, I always knew I wanted to be an
great.
actress. I'm so sorry that I just went
That's how
so
it
deep
goes.
down that hole.
I thought
like
that was
it.
wonderful.
Okay,
If anything,
okay.
it gave me more pockets to poke around in.
Okay,
Holy
cool.
smokes. Well, I grew up in the same area and grew up with community theater as well. So I
Yeah.
don't know if that's just how it was back then, maybe. But it was very important to me, and it really. Well, hello. We're sitting in the
Yeah.
Black Box Theater now because of it.
And also too, like I was recently thinking back, like a lot of the people that I was performing with were so talented, and they just had their day jobs and like still really loved to perform, and it never,
It wasn't their thing.
Maybe it didn't seem like they could actually be a career for them one day, but
But they
I
were
was
that
on
good.
Broadway, and these people were really good in
Right.
community theater. So the fact that people can get a really like almost Broadway type experience, like as far as how talented these people are in these shows for a whole lot less money, that's why community theater exists, and
Big fan.
I'm a big fan.
Support
of
your
it.
local community theater.
Yes,
Please.
I love that PSA.
All right. Well, then, so local community theater, and then you got Sopranos at the same time? 16
When I
years
was
old? Oh, my
16,
God.
yeah,
You're in high school,
I was in high school.
regular public high school?
And I finished that school through filming Sopranos too. Yeah.
How did you pull that? Just
Well, I filmed in New York. Yeah. I mean, I had a tutor on set. So
Set
the days
teacher.
I would miss, I would have a set teacher. And because I was under 18, I only worked 10 hours. So the hours weren't crazy.
Right.
And I was able to kind of bounce back and forth, which I'm so grateful for. And I always was able to do that, which I think made a big difference.
I was just going to ask, have you always been kind of I don't want to say overachiever because I don't know you that well, but
Yes.
have you always been a good student and always sort of,
Perfectionist more. I think that I got by a lot because things came easy to me. I also had a photographic memory, so I could memorize stuff for tests, and then so school wasn't hard. I wouldn't say that I like worked super hard at it. I think it just came a little easier.
sure,
So I was lucky.
aptitude?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I worked
nice.
very hard at like performing, but that was fun. It didn't seem like work. It was like I would rehearse for 18 hours if they let me.
Right.
It paid off.
Well, you enjoyed it. I'm trying to think. Boy, that's so similar. All right, so you get The Sopranos. From my recollection, I was still living on the East Coast at that time. Not only did obviously everyone knows the show is iconic, but it was big out of the gate. I mean, it was not what it was today, but it was everyone in I guess perhaps it was my little circle. I had 2 best friends growing up. One was Roman Caggiano.
Oh, okay.
And the Kazman.
Great.
Both very heavily Italian
Yes.
families.
Yes.
So perhaps it was just my little circle.
Our
But
demographic.
anyway,
Yeah.
Holy crap. My whole circle loved it. They exploded with it. They're like, it's so much better than the movie because they were all associating it with the Analyze This.
Right.
Which is completely.
Right. It couldn't have been more different.
No, not at all. So
But in the very beginning, I remember hearing people at HBO wondering how they would exactly market it because they were like, is this a black comedy?
Right.
Because there is a ton of humor.
absolutely.
I mean, obviously
It's
it can be dark and
humor.
gruesome. Yes, but it's so smart.
But it's real
Yeah.
life. They're also every character in that is fun in
Yes,
their own way.
exactly. And that's what can be funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that David Chase's writing then? Is he just that complex where you can kind of
I think
get all of
so.
it because he's so intelligent?
Yes, and I think that it truly, I think it screwed me over for a little while when the show ended because when I started auditioning and doing other things, I was like, oh, wait,
Oh, right.
I have to figure more things out when it comes to acting because that felt so easy all those years because it was just so fleshed out and it was just all there for you. There was just very little you had to do, to be honest, it felt like.
All right. Well, I guess the actual question there was then, how was that when it comes out of the gate? You're not known previously. You've done a lot
No.
of things, but you're not like publicly known.
No.
Right?
It was slow build. I was a senior in high school when it started airing,
That's
and it
so
was very
impressionable, though,
cool
the age.
to have my friends come over every Sunday night and watch because they were the friends that were coming to see me in productions at the Y.
You
And
had viewing
works.
parties?
well, yeah, because it was just like so cool that like Jamie actually did something with this hobby, and she's on TV. And of course, like a lot of my friends thought it was cool because it was about the mafia and there was cursing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but it
that's
wasn't.
true.
It also too like it was nowhere near what things are like today. Like I try and think a lot of what it would have been like if there was like the internet existed the way it did, social media. Like I'm
Brutal.
so grateful that it came out when it did because even when the show was at its peak and we had some awareness of just how important it was to people and how much they loved it. The only time you were really felt that was when we would come to LA for the award shows. Other than that, it was like we worked in Silver Cup Studios under the 59th Street Bridge
the old
with
bread
like
company.
tons of like pee bottles being thrown out of the taxis and like
Off
it
the
just
bridge.
like gross and like the same studio and like so nothing felt special
Right.
or any different. We knew we were part of something wonderful and it was so nice. And also too it was a cast that was close in the sense of like respect, love, support, but it was everyone's job and everyone went home after and had their own lives. It wasn't like incestual. It wasn't, sticky or like it didn't bleed out after any after hours.
Right,
You know what I mean? Which
right,
was
right.
kind of nice.
Yes.
That must have been awesome. You doesn't sound like you were needled, and like
No.
So to let everyone kind of grow that organically is
Yes.
it's such a cool experience.
Totally. I think, and also too, even today, like I'm appreciative and I understand what an incredible thing I was a part of, but it was such a personal experience for me that it's really hard for me to fully grasp, I think,
You grew
like
up
what
on
I
that
got
show
to be a
is
part
how
of.
we looked at it. We're watching,
Totally.
I mean, your character, but we watched you, the person, physically grow up on the show.
Yes. And I went through so much in my personal life through those 10 years as well that Sopranos, I said to David Chase in the very last award show, it's a SAG Awards, we were both at a table and it happened to be kind of like a quiet moment. And he's the type of guy, he's a quiet guy and he's not, I say this with all the love in the world, like not warm where like you feel like you could like run up and give him a hug and talk to him. But I remember just taking the opportunity and saying thank you because obviously professionally what this has done for all of us goes without saying, but personally
words,
like
yeah.
what this show did for me and was like kind of my safe place through a lot of ups and downs meant everything. It was like other than my family, like the one consistent thing I always had. Having that second family kind of, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did he appreciate that? I mean,
He did.
Did he get
He
the
did.
magnitude that
He
you were trying to
did.
impart?
He definitely did. He teared up and yeah. So I was glad that I took that chance to say that for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad. Yeah, growing up on television. I mean, I used to work on the TV show Everybody Hates Chris, and we had all kids.
Yeah.
Chris Rock as a kid, and all
Yeah.
his friends and everything. And just, seeing those kids now, all grown up is
It's probably
weird.
bizarre, huh?
Yeah, it really is. It really is. We had one of them on the show here at one point, and it was just like he was like my little brother when we were doing the show, and we were friends outside of work and everything. And yeah, it's just odd to me. So I guess the familial aspect of it, you guys were actually a family. I mean, playing a family.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to tell you this, but this is interesting just for the sake of how we did it. Mrs. Ryan hadn't seen The Sopranos in first run, so she had always was working in the business already.
Yeah.
And it was a few years ago when we finally, 3-4 years ago, 5 years ago? I don't want to say the thing because it'll give it away, the timeline. We were working our way through it for the first time. Oh, we had just gotten married too, so that'll be help. Finally working our way through, got to season 6. I mean, we're doing like 3-4 episodes a night. I
Wow.
mean, this is commitment.
Oh,
because
yeah.
you got so hardcore into
You
it.
can't stop watching it.
Right.
And I'd never seen it, so it was just like
It was all
brand new
there for you,
awesomeness
too.
to take in. It was so good.
So we get to season 6, and we're about 2 episodes away from the finale. And for whatever reason, we were doing work or whatever in the middle of the day. And she, of course, checks her news feed, and James Gandolfini had just died that day.
Which was just a couple of days ago. Like the anniversary of.
All of the above,
Yeah.
all of the above. And it was one of those where, I mean, I think the whole world felt it. Certainly
Yeah.
people who knew him and worked with him, the whole world felt it. It felt so personal to us at that moment because we were
yeah.
experiencing it away from everybody else.
Yeah.
We weren't watching
Yeah.
it with the pack. This was our own little personal thing.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it just really cut us both. We went to Hawaii like 2 weeks later or something like that, whatever it was. I can't remember.
Yeah. Watching it in Hawaii was surreal, but like
that's where we
seeing
finished it.
that
We finished it
James
there
passed
because it was
away,
like
it's
we had to
like
put
It's a
it
nice
away.
way to celebrate the end of it.
We had to put it away for a little bit because it was like we were in.
No, I get it.
And I know,
It's heavy.
Whatever. I had seen it.
Yeah.
it's heavy, but I can't imagine living through it. So you have that. I mean,
I
that's what you
I
did.
haven't watched it.
Really?
Other than the first 2 episodes and the very last one, and maybe a couple in between. Like I saw the whole first season, but other than that, I don't like watching myself. But I think enough time has passed that I can. And my husband's never seen it, so it's on our queue.
Yeah,
we're gonna get there.
You know, there's no judgment anymore. Like I was
Right.
a kid. The reason I was getting all of that out, though, was to come back to something you said earlier about the social media element and all of the constant and everything. I can't even imagine if the Sopranos finale happened today.
Yeah, no.
With
the spoilers and people
and
getting
just the
stuff
instant,
out.
the instant way that people handle things and whatever on the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, holy crap! It was. I'm going to say the response was binary back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love it or hate it.
Yeah. Yes.
Can't even imagine now.
Yes.
How do you deal with the social media? You're on the social media in general. Is that part of your life? Do you use it a lot? Or
Yeah, I mean, I try to for work. You know what I mean? I love to see. I love social media in the sense of I love to see my friends' feeds. I love to see what people are doing. I love certain things that inspire me. But there's for me and the way I use it. I really kind of have like a I don't care attitude because I can't value like myself off of how many followers I have, and I
Right.
just see like the downward spiral. The people that I'm close with have gone down with that, and
But how are
I
you
just
able
feel
to see? I'm sorry to cut you off. How are you able to see through it? Do you
I don't know. I just feel like maybe it's because I've just been in this business for a long enough time and have beat myself up enough times where I just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I also have 2 kids and like I have a lot of like other important stuff that I've got to worry about and
You're
deal
busy.
with.
Yep. You're experienced. You're busy. I'm trying to show other people that this thing, it doesn't really
It
matter.
doesn't
There's nothing
matter.
concrete about social media. It's a fake bonus bullshit.
You know what? I think I went through that just in the business in general, of just feeling like my self-worth came from like getting jobs or like how much work I was getting.
What other people tell you your worth is, basically.
Yes. And I think that after I had my kids and I just realized like I'm enough at the end of the day, no matter what, that's kind of what I want to look to because like I said, I've gone down the deep dark holes of it all with everything and I just can't do that anymore.
Right.
I just choose not to. So I think I've learned the hard way, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. And like I said, I enjoy it for what it is, and it's fun to put things out there and have people respond and enjoy it. But if they don't, I'm not
Right.
sweating it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
For you. I think it's very healthy. Very healthy. we're struggling with it because we've never been in front of the camera people. This
Yeah.
is all new for
Yeah.
us, and even at this level, climbing our way through, it's new, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you get down on yourself pretty easily when something happens, and it's one of those we're only now learning.
We kind of just have to like remember why you started it, and I feel like that's what you just have to keep remembering. And if you're enjoying it, then who cares? Like
Stay
how many?
grounded.
Yeah, just stay in it. I even had that with acting, where I kind of stepped away from it for a little while because of my kids and because of my MS, and I just didn't know like where I would fit in anymore. Almost to the point where I literally declared I'm quitting, and I had enough people, surprisingly, like I thought my managers and agents were going to be like, we get it. But the fact that they were like, no, like made me realize that I never had that conversation of whether they believed in me or not.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, really? And I took a couple of weeks, and just I felt like if they feel like they're not wasting my time, maybe I'll continue. But what I've done in the past only couple of weeks was I've joined 2 different acting classes because I needed to know, like, do I still love this or not, and can I still do it?
So this is you're going through this right now.
Right now.
Oh my
and
goodness.
now, like, I'm so excited to go to my class twice a week because even if I don't work right now, like, I still get to act twice a week.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for anything else. I'm doing it because, like,
So you
it
found that you
literally
love
is
it.
what,
Love it.
like, makes my body like ring in the right way. Like it makes me vibrate
Vibrations,
in the
yes.
right way. And so
What's maybe your
I'm just
purpose, you're
remembering
living your
why.
purpose kind of
Yeah.
It's good
Totally.
to know.
I guess. And I was totally okay with it not being like, if that
Right.
was just the chapter and then moving on. Okay. Like I'm not connected to the fame and all of that at all.
Do you think that's probably part of why it'll work out?
I hope
that's
that's
not
the
your-
story.
you know what I'm saying? You're
I
not
hope
doing
it
it
ends
for the
up that
wrong
way.
reasons.
No, not at all. Not at all. Because I have 2 little kids that like really need me, and as exhausting as they are, and as much as like there's moments where I'm like, I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I don't like this. This is too much. I don't like you today. Like it is a place I'm needed, and that's also an important job. So in the interim, I still am busy, even though
Yeah.
sometimes at the end of a week I feel completely depleted, but that I actually accomplished nothing except that I kept my kids alive. Like that's
a
it.
big
Well,
accomplishment.
hello.
Yes,
There's
but
the-
I mean,
Productive.
I guess
He kept you alive and them, and your husband's still there. Like, life is fine for that week.
True. We could check those.
We do a tremendous amount of car stuff on this show. Did you say that one of your kids is totally into cars?
Oh my God, my baby Jack. He's a year
Really?
and a half, and so my older one could have cared less about any cars. He was all sports. My husband at the time was a professional baseball player when he was little, so he grew up at the baseball field. So he had a bat in his hand, and he plays ice hockey and baseball, and he's 5.
Holy crap.
And he's gifted. I mean, it's in his blood. I mean, my husband played professional baseball. My father-in-law was a professional baseball player.
Yeah, I found that out this morning. I don't know anything about sports ball. so
Yeah.
I was like, but I remember the name Lenny
Sports
Dykstra
ball.
just from growing up.
From-
in-
yeah,
in the
especially East
He
Coast,
was
for
a Met.
sure.
He was a Met.
And a Philly, yeah. So it's in his blood. So he's a naturally gifted athlete. But the baby, like, I don't know. We had maybe one car because I had all the old toys from the big one.
Yeah.
And he was just like, gah, gah. And it's airplanes. And so it's literally planes, trains, and automobiles. Like, that's his jam. And it's the
Transportation.
cutest. It's
Me
great.
too.
And it's also easy. You can always like pack a car in the diaper bag and
Oh,
stuff
sure.
like that. With the other one, I have to bring the bat and the ball and the gloves, and you need space. The baby can do a car anyway.
Well, that's pretty funny.
gosh.
Yeah.
I hope they stick with it. I mean, cars are kind of it's becoming less important in the world by the time they grow up.
Well, yeah.
they
People
probably
even going to be
won't-
driving.
I don't know. Probably not, right?
That's
Who knows?
crazy.
It's weird, right?
It feels I'm uncomfortable with that.
Do you drive? You drive?
Yeah.
Forgive me for asking that.
That's okay.
She doesn't drive, and then the fact some celebrities don't drive.
I love
Norm
the-
Macdonald
I
doesn't drive. He's never had a license or a car.
Just never
Just-
needed to.
Yeah, he's just
Well,
not
was he in the
interested.
city for a long time? Was that why? Yeah.
not interested.
My grandmother is 98 years old and has never driven. Because she came from Cuba and then lived in Manhattan, and it just was all subways. So
Yeah,
You don't
that's
need
it.
to.
no,
Yeah.
Wow. Can we shift gears and talk about MS a little
let's
bit?
do it.
You already know about us, and we already know about you. But what I didn't know about you again till today was that you were diagnosed when you were 20.
Yeah.
So you're on The Sopranos at that time.
Yes.
And nobody knew, right? That wasn't public for a long time, which is very common. The model we typically look at is Terry Garr, just because of the whole David Letterman connection. All of the famous appearances that she had on Letterman in the 80s and 90s, she had MS during all of that.
Wow.
And it was one of those, like, if you go back and look, you say, oh, well, gosh, she needed some help getting over to the chair or whatever. And it's like it's all totally there. What was your experience at 20 years old dealing with this?
Well,
how did you, I mean, I'm curious about all of it. I'm curious about what your symptoms were. I'm curious about, you know, what you went to do.
So when I was 19, I like had this numbness, tingling in my feet. And then every day the sensation was rising and rising and rising. And by the time it got to my hips, I was like, I feel like I need to go check this out.
Something's not right.
Yeah. So my dad took me to the ER, and during the process of them checking me out, like it felt like I was paralyzed. Like it just like my legs were so heavy I couldn't really move them. And for about 11 days, I was in ICU. They were trying to figure out what was wrong. They ruled out MS at the time. But I mean, spinal taps, MRIs, CAT scans. I had David Chase coming to the hospital being like, what's going on? I mean, like people were freaking out. And I remember even the doctor saying, if we don't figure this out, I mean, we have to think about if she's going to walk again. And I remember sitting there being like, no, this is wrong. I'm going to walk. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And one doctor on the case had said, like, let's test her for Lyme's disease.
Sure.
So it came back somewhat positive enough that they gave me antibiotics and steroids, which now in hindsight, I realized the steroids is what did it. So the sensation immediately came back, and I started, and everything was fine.
But the Lyme disease would be that's a good guess for where we grew up. There was tons of high grass, tons of that stuff. And we were always outside.
And then about a year and a half after that, so when I'm 20, I started to get the same feeling, and it was
tingles again.
And I was also at a time where I was being pulled in a million directions. I was really overworked. I was really stressed out and unhappy. And
that's when it shows its face, by the way.
It loves to, huh? Loves to be like, oh, things are shitty. Well, here's another one for you.
One more thing, right?
Right.
Let me give you this little doozy.
Sorry, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your reputation.
So I went. I'll take it. Clearly, I don't care. So I went again to the ER, and I thought I was just being dramatic, and maybe they were going to give me antibiotics or steroids again, and I'd go home. And then the next thing I know, a neurologist coming into the room telling me that I have MS.
Why were they so sure this time? What did they do differently?
From the MRI, they were now lesions.
They could see the lesions. Okay.
Oh, so that had changed.
Yes.
Okay.
Is this a brain or spine? Or
spine.
both? Okay.
I think I maybe have one in my brain. Okay. That's it.
Do you still only one, or is there more?
Sometimes it's like looks like it's not there anymore.
Yeah, but it's mostly here.
Mostly there.
Yeah, mine too.
Cervical and thoracic.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're similar. I'll get into more of my MS, but I feel like we probably have similar issues.
I think so too. Thanks.
I noticed you both stand the same way, and that's not facetious. I mean, you have to sort of, your leans are similar.
Yeah.
Walking up here, I noticed shit like that. It's just little things that you notice. It's like that when that woman came up one time with a limp and was like talking to us for a few minutes, and I was like, you have MS. And I just know.
Yeah.
It's no judgment. It's
no.
just that people hold themselves differently when they're in chronic pain.
Yep.
And I can tell.
Holding yourself together almost at the same time.
Totally.
That's all.
Totally. So when they diagnosed me then, I very fortunately was with a doctor at the time that said, look, there's no reason to think that you can't live a completely full, healthy life. You can have kids. You can still be an actress. Like if you were a dancer, I might tell you need to like reevaluate some things, but you can do everything you want. And I just took that and like ran with it.
Absolutely.
And then I went to the only other doctor that I would go to is like our set doctor, who like you literally have a checkup every season, and they were like, she's fine, whatever. For every new job, you have to see like a doctor.
Yeah.
And I told him, and he was just trying to protect me, and he said I would keep this a secret, like I wouldn't tell anyone between you and I. And I was just like, okay.
When that was in the 90s, yeah. So it was
it was
2000?
2001 maybe.
Okay, still new-ish publicly.
Yes.
So
yes,
I understand what he meant.
Yes. And he didn't know how work would react.
Yeah.
They're going to not put her in as much, you know what I mean? And I was fine. I wasn't symptomatic at all at the time.
Why put a spotlight on it?
Yes.
It doesn't make sense.
And I was raised in a household primarily by my mom that it was like, tell everyone everything's perfect. It's always perfect.
Oh,
Everything's
wow.
fine.
Yeah, that's
and
Long Island.
so
right?
then that was put on me too. Like, no one is going to know this.
Yeah.
No one will know this. We can't trust anyone. No one will know this.
Inner circle.
So that was that for a while. And then the treatment they put me on was like a once a week injection. It was a really big needle. I felt terrible for days after I would take it.
Once a week. That was the early. That was before Copaxone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was like they were going to put me maybe on Copaxone or Avonex, which is
Okay.
what they put me
Okay.
on. And I kind of rebelled against it, and I wasn't a good girl about doing it every week. And in hindsight, I think back all the time that I wonder if things would have been the way they are right now if I was a better patient.
I actually salute you for doing what you believed was right for yourself, because that's what she did, and she started to have a little bit of improvement when she stopped listening to everybody else.
Well,
She-
that's where
she
I'm
was-
at now.
yes,
So I'm really
go
glad
ahead.
that you recognize that and tell her that. But yes, it was a hard journey to figure that
She
out.
was on the dailies and then went to the 3 times a week one, and then she was like, what the F am I, this is not, it's this, what are we fighting for if this
Yeah.
is life? And
Yeah.
she was just like,
Yeah.
stop that and let's figure something else
I got
out.
Yeah.
bruises after every shot. Like, it's not comfortable, and I thought it would. I don't know why.
You
I
thought it would just get
be-
easier?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
of
it
course.
doesn't. It's
No.
just you're in pain all the time. So it's like I'm in pain all the time now. Like, I don't need to shoot myself up to be in pain. It wasn't
Totally.
benefiting me enough to make it worth it.
I get it.
You never know.
I get it.
I'm glad I tried it, but
Yeah.
I'm more glad I'm off of it.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Trial and error.
So I believe that if you really
I'm
follow
glad you
your
believe
gut
it.
on
Yes. Yes. And it took a long time for me to figure that out.
Yeah.
So then when I was around 23, 24, I went through a pretty gnarly divorce. And that's when the symptoms really started to kind of show
that. Oh, so
up.
were you married during the whole process of?
I got married during it
Oh,
and
wow.
then divorced. I was with him for 5 years, but only married for 2 years. And
I didn't
that
mean to
was
bring that up. It was
no,
just, I didn't
you
realize
didn't know.
you were in a relationship going through all of that at the time.
And so then I started having like bladder issues. And then the walking, it would be only after a certain amount of time that I would start to get like a foot drop.
Right.
And then high heels.
So
would
you've got like 4 good
hurt
hours
me.
in your day, and then all of a sudden the fatigue would set in. And yeah, okay.
I
And then-
slink down.
And then my heels, like I remember one time being on the red carpet at the Emmys, and it's a long red carpet, and at the end of it, I was doing an interview, and I started clenching my fist, and my publicist, who knew, was with me,
Could
and
see.
I looked at her, and she was like, "Okay, it's done," and she was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I can't stand anymore.
Done.
I have to take off my shoes." And it was like one of those moments where like, "Oh, this is real.
Yep.
Like this is something I'm gonna have to deal with, like in my life. I can't ignore this."
Was that one of the first times? Sorry, I have those moments, and like I'm still in denial that that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Like, was that one of those moments, or were you used to it? It sounds like you handled it really well.
No, I lived in denial. I lived in a permanent state of
Yeah,
denial
okay.
because I'm 25
You're a
years
kid.
old. Like I'm dating again. Like I live in New York City. I'm on a show. Like why is this? Like why do I have to deal with this? Like I just went through a nasty divorce. Like all of it. It just felt very unfair.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then I went on a different treatment, which was then a once a month IV, which was a whole lot better. And
Is that the
obviously.
little grenade that you hold, or was that a like?
No,
you have
I
to
would go
somewhere?
to his office
Okay.
and do it. And then I got in a better relationship, and I felt like I was getting a handle on my life a little bit more, but the MS didn't kind of stop. And not to be poetic about it at all, but the very last time I was ever able to run was the very last scene I shot of Sopranos, where Meadow is running across the street to Holston's. That was the very last scene that was shot in general, like the
You're
very
kidding.
last bit of film that was ever shot for the show. 2 days later, I went to go run to hail a cab, and my boyfriend had his hand there, and he's like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "I can't run."
Can't move. It's so
It's
weird.
such, because you can close your eyes and remember exactly what that feels like.
Yeah.
So I'm like trying to tell my body to follow, and it's like literally stalling on me. And so from then, so that's about 26 to 30, I moved to LA, and then nobody knew again. And I was going to the doctor appointments all by myself. I was doing everything all by myself. And then at that point too, now I'm like desperate.
How was that going to you switching to all new people now that you're in Los Angeles?
Yeah,
All new,
I mean, it was okay. It was still able to kind of hide it, but like, say, like, I would come up with my excuses. I don't like high heels. I have a bad back.
Oh, I see. You
Like-
weren't going to new MS doctors out here or anything like that. This is just
Just
it was invisible.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And then,
Gosh, that's hard.
but
That's
because
hard.
then I was also so far away from my family and everything I knew, I remember getting to a point where I was also had like roommates for the first time. Like I was living with girlfriends, which I'd never done because I went straight from living in my parents' house to like my own apartment in New York City.
So you
I
got
decided
good
I
energy
wanted to
around
tell
you.
people,
Oh.
like a couple of people, and see what that was like.
How
Your
was
roo-
it?
Your roommates. You're starting with the roommates. Okay.
And my best friends, yes. And it was like, it was great because all of a sudden my one best friend was like, I want to go with you to your next infusion. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah. And then like I was starting to research, you know, this will cure you or this will cure you. So I flew to Dominican Republic or I would go to San
Right.
Diego or whatever. And my friends were coming with me to those
Wow.
places,
So
which was
nice.
so nice. I never realized like you could ask for help, like how good that would feel.
Yeah, I'm bad at that.
Very bad. Yeah.
Hardest part.
Still not bad at it.
Hardest part.
But the disease in
support
those
you
4
get.
years progressed enough where then I remember I had a job. I got this pilot and I went to shoot it. And the entire time people were like, are you limping? What's going on? It was the first time anyone had ever said anything like that to me. And I remember every single night after we finished that shoot, I prayed to God that it would not get picked up. And it was like one of those sure thing things. And then something freaky happened and they didn't pick it up. And I was like, thank you.
Wow.
Which is terrible. And then I got on another show and I did the sitcom on NBC and I blamed it. I had a chiropractor write that I had a herniated disc, which I did, but that wasn't why I was walking the way I was walking.
Totally.
And we do a full season and people are like, is it getting better? Do you need surgery? And I would cry every day after work. I was finally
the
like,
worst.
all I wanted to do was a sitcom, like just know what that schedule and that life was like. And I couldn't enjoy a single moment of it because of just the secret I was harboring. I felt shame. I felt guilt. I felt bad about myself. And when in reality, like I didn't do anything wrong. And I'm sure if I had said something to them in hindsight, it would have been the most loving, supportive group and they would have figured everything out for
Before you were
me.
ready to ask for help. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And I met my husband during this time. And he was the first person that like really was like forceful in my life of being like, I'm in this with you. Like, I got you. Like, you're not alone. Like, I saw him in the audience every night. Like, he could see when I was struggling and I would see him like get up and like want to come down to me. Makes me tear up because it's just, I don't think it's like that support wasn't available to me, but
It's
I
not
never
always
opened.
visible.
Yes.
I find he the same husband, whatever. It's such a great mirror of what you think you don't necessarily want, but that you need so badly.
So bad.
And I'm so grateful. Like it's such a cool thing to have that kind of support.
Totally. And then I got pregnant by accident with my oldest.
Well,
And-
this is sweet and sour. I mean, hopefully it's sweet. But I mean, you said by accident. Doesn't that? Well, I shall let you talk.
Well, yeah, it was.
There's an
So
MS
I
tie
was.
in here as well.
Yeah. Well, so I was seeing this so my new one that was like going to heal me was like this special chiropractor, but like he told me I couldn't be on birth control for his medical practices. But later on I found out it was just because he was like super, super religious and like didn't believe in it.
Just because he didn't believe in it.
But I'll just throw it up to like the universe's plan of things of like, because Bo was meant to come into this world, my 5-year-old, that I wasn't on birth control for the first time in 15 years and I got pregnant. And then that to me was like my like see ya everything. I'm just gonna make this baby.
Yep.
I'm done.
Bye-bye business.
Yes,
Sure.
exactly. And my MS did get a whole lot better when I was pregnant with
It
him.
did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
During the carry term, and then how about after?
After, I think it was okay, but I think it was made worse because I definitely had postpartum depression and didn't really know what that meant. I just thought I wasn't a good mom. I was exhausted. I wouldn't ask for help. I didn't hire a nanny or anything because I was like, I'm not working. I'm not going to pay for someone. That's like my stubbornness.
Your mind is, I should be able to do. Yeah.
I should be able to do this. Mad at my
You're
MS.
obsessive
I want to
compulsive
be able
too,
to
all the
do
above.
this. Everything. Like it's like I'm not going to let MS decide everything
Right.
for my life. And then a year after that, my brother suddenly passed away.
Oh gosh.
I didn't know that. I'm
And
sorry.
I was with him as he died, and it was just like a very important moment in my life because it just shifted my perspective completely. And I remember one of his things was just like just couldn't understand why I kept it a secret. And the only person that was really holding me back from telling people was my mom. And it's I understand like where she was coming from, but it was almost like that significant moment in my life just like really started to make me think. And over the course of the next year, my husband and I decided we were finally going to get married. And my son was 2.5, and he had some understanding of like my limitations and what I could and couldn't do and things like that. But I was just thinking like, as he gets older, what kind of example am I setting by asking him to keep this secret from me? You know, what am you tell your kids, like, you can do anything you want, and what makes you different is what makes you special. And like, everyone deserves an opportunity. Like, these are all the things we want to tell our kids to believe about the world, but like, I'm not living that.
Yeah.
So when we were getting married and someone called and like, oh, People Magazine wants to cover your wedding. And I called my manager who knew, and I told him, I think I actually want to come out about my MS. And he was like, I've been waiting for you to tell me this. And I said, and I want to do it around that because I want it to be around a celebratory moment in my life. Because the truth of the matter is I'm in a happy place in my life. And I used to fantasize that I would come out about my MS when I was healed.
Right.
When I
Yeah,
would
me
be
too.
like running and in high heels and be like, hey, so you all know this is what I used
happened.
to deal with. And now I'm here. And I remember my husband saying, like, what good is that story? Like, say it now while you're living it. I just didn't want to be the poster child for MS either.
Yes. I totally know what you mean.
I didn't want everyone to see me only as having MS,
Yeah.
all this stuff, you know? So,
Perception changes.
so I think because of my brother, because of my son, and because of just 16 years of keeping a secret, I was just done. It was causing me more harm than good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is what made me kind of come forward about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Kudos to that. I wish we had an audience solely for the applause on that.
Oh.
How has life been since?
You know, it's kind of shifted only in this past year, I think.
We'll get a better chair.
In just that so much of my journey with MS has been what is taken away from me. And it's all true. Like, I'm not reaching for reasons, you know, it's very apparent what it's done to me and my body and my life. But it's also given me a lot, and I feel like I'm choosing to focus on that. I
bravo.
think that it's led me down a path of physical, mental, and spiritual health that I never, ever, ever would have gone down without it. And I think that it's really connected me to like who I really am. And even the things we were talking about of like not caring about the social media and stuff like
Yeah.
that, I probably would have cared.
Yes.
I probably would have been a fucking mess like but it's just really just brought me to a much more present place, appreciative place, a slower pace, but I'm kind of enjoying it. I have days, sometimes weeks, where it just feels really unfair and it's really a bummer, and I'm wish I didn't have it. Of course. I mean, every day I wish I didn't have it. I'm fighting it every day of my life. I mean, I push myself to work out with a trainer 3 times a week, but I've also done the extreme diets and things like that. And I just found, for me personally, it felt like a punishment, and it just felt like I have MS and I have to be gluten, dairy, sugar, everything free. Like,
What
it
else?
just feels unfair. And I found like a true moderation, like lifestyle, and like moderate lifestyle. And it's now become like, I don't know, I think I found like my own pattern. And I don't know, I don't take it lightly that everyone around me is just being like, you're moving better. Even my trainer's like, your mobility is so much better. And I think it's because like I'm choosing a different attitude. I'm choosing to be happy. It's work to choose it, but I am. And I think that even in my acting, I have, my thing with when I audition is like, I always say, I'm like, I wish everyone could close their eyes as I walk in the room, watch me do my audition, and then close their eyes when I walk out, because
You need the curtain.
I just feel so exposed. And for years, I for sure was not doing good work because I was so worried about the physicality that I was just getting the dialogue out. Like I was not doing good work.
Of your own behaviors and everything.
Totally.
Right.
And like when I had when the iron was hot and I was going in and people wanted to see me for everything, kind of sucks because I feel like that's when I was doing my shittiest work. And it's almost like now I feel like I'm in the best place. Like I'm the best actress I've ever been right now. And I feel like I'm all dressed up in the dugout, like waiting for somebody to call me up to the plate, and like nobody is. And it's hard, but at the same time, I just feel like I've just got to trust that like the right thing's going to come, because like I said, I was very willing to kind of back away, but it is truly what I love. And I just have to believe that there's going to be, in this whole idea of like diversity and inclusivity and all that, like this is part of that story. I truly think. And I've had people that have worked with me that have shot around it, have incorporated it. Like I see how it still can work, which is why I'm still trying. Yeah.
Seeing the options and how you can modulate your life to accommodate whatever you're dealing with, whatever it is.
Yes.
Is the name of the game. And like I'm really bad at it. Thankfully, he's not.
I feel like you're probably not. We can be very resourceful. Do you find how resourceful you've become, or that you actually are?
I realize how resourceful I can be, and it sometimes goes in weird directions. So like I don't understand most of my stuff's neurological, and that it trickled down into being physically problematic. So keeping a handle on all the pieces is really where I focus. But being resourceful in both of those ways, once I can marry them properly, great.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes it just sounds like a crazy person talking.
No, not at all. No.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
Finding ways to fit your life.
You said something similar that reminded me of something that's on my card right here. You have a remarkably positive attitude, and you made it sound like that's a choice. What do you do to put your smile on? I mean, I'm assuming you might be similar in that you don't necessarily just wake up with it. It's not automatic because you wake up in pain and stress and all the stuff. How do you do it? What's your secret?
I think I'm able to be positive because when I feel really down, I let myself stay there and I let myself feel it.
Go through it and get over it.
I don't suck it up. Like I'm not that type of person. I've been that way for so many years and it just didn't serve me.
It's my opinion that's what gave people like you guys MS. I know that's
Totally.
fundamentally
fake personalities and owning that.
My neurologist told me that all his people with MS are perfectionists.
Yep.
Like
really?
It's a trait that we all have, and there's just some. I mean, whatever you believe in, but there's whatever lessons there are here. I mean, think we want to control everything, and now we can't even control our own bodies.
Yeah.
At a cellular level.
Yes.
Like I get pretty heady about it. My neurologist did not say anything like what your doctors clearly have told you, which is awesome. It changes your perspective on what you can do when you know that you're not dying and you're going to be fine. It's just life looks different. That's all I wish my doctors had told me. Like life's going to look different for a little bit.
Yeah.
Own it, embrace it, figure it out. But
Make it your own.
Yeah.
I've also gotten like super, super, super dark with it. And like, I'm saying like weeks or months of just being just really in the hole. And seeing that I've come out of it each time, and that life still showed up, and that things did get better.
Get stronger each time a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that because I have that perspective, it's allowed me to be a little bit more positive, because even when it comes up again and I'm like, oh, hello, friend, like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
I come out of it quicker, and it's easier for me to leave it because I know it'll come back, but I also know it'll go away.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. But again, you're not trying to control it. This is the anti-behavior for what you had before.
No, a surrender. It's a
getting
true place of surrender that I've almost become like to enjoy.
Yeah.
You can't control it. Why
I
not
think
go
that's
along
why,
for the ride?
and yeah, with my career, with everything, I'm like, I don't
Whatever.
know. I can't. I can do what I do.
It's gonna be fine.
I can do my job of it, and that's the thing is, in the end of the day, and I heard you talking about marijuana, and like I say, children are what drew me to marijuana, but also MS. But it's like, it's my end of the day. Like that's my glass of wine,
Sure.
and it truly like. I love going to the heady places. Like my husband doesn't because he gets super paranoid, but I love going there because I'll be sitting there like super quiet and all of a sudden look at him and be like, everything's going to be okay. Yeah. It is. Everything's going to be okay. And I truly, at my core, believe that.
I think that's amazing.
I love you for believing it. It's really...
Changing your
so
state's
remarkable.
important. Whatever, if it takes something, if it takes a little help, that's fine.
That's my foundation. I can fly off the handles plenty of times, but that's my place where I can come back.
At least you go back there. Like I need to get better about going back there because I know
it takes
But
work.
it's like yes, which I'm happy to do.
Yeah.
The more I own the fact that like this is just work. This is a new kind. This is life, and you have to do this every day. That's fine.
Yeah.
It's
It's
trippy,
a
but
bummer of a hand, that we can be dealt, but
it is what it is. I feel similar.
I think you're both amazing for how you've. I mean, obviously different things, dealing with it different ways, but the fact that you both are dealing with it, both sort of in public too. My hat's off to both of you. I'm not wearing a hat, but I loved you both. I'm totally impressed
You already
with
took it
both
off.
of you. Totally impressed with both of you. I want to start wrapping it up here, but I do want to ask Entourage. I loved Entourage. I loved the show from, again, episode 1. What was it like to play yourself?
So what happened was, they always had like cameos of people all the time. And I had talked to Doug Ellen when Sopranos was filming. And he was like, oh, why? Because I was such a huge fan of the show. And he's like, oh, we'd love to get you on. But HBO at the time was like, no. Like, not while Sopranos is on. It's like too much. So when the show wrapped, I was open. And I was supposed to do just one episode. And
just a stunt casting thing.
Yeah. And he was like, look, you're going to like, do whatever to turtle on a plane. Like, are you down with this? And I'm like, that sounds so ridiculous. But like, I'd rather it be outrageous so it doesn't feel anything like me, and that was the point. Exactly. You're playing a cartoon version of yourself. And Jerry and I had such great chemistry that I remember Doug being like, do you want to come back for another one just for this season? And I'm like, sure.
Why not?
So we did that whole big episode where there's the two of us on like a date, and we just had so much fun.
The chemistry was amazing to watch.
It was. And then Jerry and I ended up dating for a year and a half after that episode. And then Doug said, why don't you just come back for next season? So I was like, oh my God, I have a job. Like right after the show.
Still on HBO.
And honestly, I was very worried. As anyone, when you're part of something iconic, it's a double-edged sword because obviously anyone wants to be part of like some lightning in a bottle situation, which I got to be in, but then everyone sees you as that. So to be on the same channel and to have a loose reference to it, but like it was like a good stepping stone away from Meadow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like I couldn't have asked for a better first gig out of the gate.
Yeah.
And I loved that show was as fun to shoot as you would imagine.
Oh,
like it was as fun to shoot as it was to watch. Like they truly, all the guys loved each other. There was a football being thrown. It was in beautiful locations. There was beautiful girls, beautiful cars. Like everything was awesome. I had a great job.
I had a bunch of friends who worked on that show.
You did?
They all said the same exact thing. From hair and makeup down to crew guys. It was just like, they all said the same thing. It was just fun.
Easy
just
hours
easy, fun,
too.
Great.
It was like 10
short
hours. I was like, what? We're done? It's so light out. What?
They said that it was just a very, very comfortable, chill set.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I want to talk about what you have coming up before you leave. You've got a podcast. You're doing a podcast. What's it called?
It's called Mama Said.
All right.
And it's basically, we like to coin it to everything about from the pretty to the shitty of motherhood, because it's all encompassing. You can love your kids and can't stand them at the exact same time. And I think that part of the reason why I suffer from postpartum with my first son was because I didn't think that I was able to say honestly what I was feeling.
Sure.
And my co-host Jenna became that person when we had our second kids, of like talking things out. Like, she was my permission slip to just be honest. And there was no question or judgment that I didn't love my kids to death, but like, it was still so hard. And she was
the release.
Totally. And just realizing that there was so many other moms like that, we just wanted to create a podcast to just have the really honest conversation, like confess your deepest, darkest mommy sins and realize, you're not alone. And it's been the most fun. We've had so much fun doing it.
Do you do it at each other's houses? Do
we have a studio that we do it in, but we're trying to learn the equipment so that eventually we can be more mobile, because right now we're like stuck to like Friday mornings is like the only time we have our studio.
This is a piece of cake.
Can we come in here? This would be great. Jenna would love it.
Come on over.
But we've just had really cool guests, and it's been a lot of fun.
How many episodes have you done?
We've
This
put
doesn't
out
matter, I'm just curious.
We've put out 18 or 19.
That's good. So you're well underway.
Yes, and we have about 25 in the bank.
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah.
So this is very cool. So this is going on for a while.
Yeah, we launched in February and we started recording in December.
Awesome.
Do you like it?
Love it. Love it. It's not what I want to it's not the only thing I want to do.
Thing, but
it comes easy in the sense of like the timing of the show. Like, I'm kind of steer the ship, and Jenna like will just talk, and I'm kind of
you're natural at this.
Oh,
I
thanks.
haven't to do much.
Oh, well, thanks. But it is a job as a host to like let your guests talk, but also like steer and like and like understand timing and segments and things like that. So I'm learning that, but it's been fun.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's a piece. It's like one of those things where like, could I just do this and go with it? Sure. But there's, even when I'm, like I said, when I'm sitting on the floor with my kids and I'm like, there's another huge part of me that's still missing. Like but this is a new part that
it's another layer.
Yeah.
It's just a layer.
Yeah. It's just still without my kids though. You know, I mean, like everything can't be about my kids.
All right, let's see. And you're on the social media, of course, right?
I am.
Let me do an Instagram story while you're talking.
Great. I'm on the social media.
I'm sorry, I'm that guy. I'm an old guy.
What do you like for the social media? Instagram, really?
I'm all Instagram. Yeah. I don't do Twitter much. I mean, I feel like if you went to my Twitter feed, you'd be like, where is she?
I deleted
She's been gone for 2 years. I'm still here. I'm just on Instagram.
I love it.
How do you feel? How was this?
This was great.
You enjoyed it?
I enjoyed it so much. You've got great vibes in here. I love this set. It's so cool.
Oh, thank you.
So cool.
Well, like I said to you 15 times already, it means the world to us that you came over today. And to have this conversation with you is something we've been looking forward to for a long time.
Me too.
So thank you for allowing it to happen. Mrs. Ryan, what do we have coming up? Oh, okay. All right. This is good. Let's see. Tomorrow we've got Breakfast Club. 9 a.m. up at Newcomb's Ranch. Come on up if you feel like it. Saturday, we're going to be at Cars and Coffee Manhattan Beach. Saturday from 8 to 10 a.m. And then on Sunday, we're going to be at Cars and Coffee Los Angeles from 7 to 9 a.m. And all that stuff's on the social media
busy
as well.
weekend.
Social media. Go look at the social media.
To do.
No rest for the weary, man.
I love it.
And then we're going to be dark next week for the holiday week. So that'll be nice. So it's kind of like we're doing all this stuff the weekend and then take a little bit of downtime and spend some time out at the pool and relax, Mrs. Ryan, and everything else.
Yeah.
That's it. We're done.
We're done?
You good?
I'm good.
I love you so much, Mrs. Ryan. We love you
too.
so much, Jamie Lynn
I
Siegler.
love you
Thank
guys.
you very, very
You're
much.
the best.
We love everybody at home. Please love one another. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you out there.